And yes, a lot of times we may, apologize to each other for things that we say, but a lot of times we know that when we say, I'm sorry, the other person really just kind of like blows it off, or you just don't feel like it's been an accepted part of, gonna need another table, a round table, okay? Sure. Sometimes it just doesn't seem to be a major part of anything, it's like you say something and it kind of like goes away. So we're gonna learn what I had gone through this summer. I was supposed to be in Israel to do this, but because we couldn't go, we did this online, and one of the reasons we did it online is because there is a grant that goes with this, and that comes to the synagogue. For me to do programs like this. So that's part of what we pay for your meal, by the way. It's an exciting program that a number, about 12 of us went through. They're all Jewish educators. We're all senior educators. The requirement was you had to be in the business for at least 20 years. And it came out really nice, and so we just kind of need to meet other people like that. When we talk about it, if you look on the first page, the overall questions, you can see what it says, questions we aim to address in MM, which means Machloket matters. These are like the objectives for everything. And there are 9 of them there. What I'd like you to do is take a look at those 9 and choose 3 that you think you're going to have a hard time with. It's on the first page.
Right.
Choose 3 that you're going to have a hard time with. Just going to circle the number. Ones that are hard to get apart. Oh, okay, very good, very good. I have a few extra pens if you need one.
What do you mean we have a hard time with it?
Which one that you're going to find challenging for yourself?
I see.
Arnie, what's the assignment? I missed it. Sorry.
Circle the 3.
Choose the 3 that you think will be challenging for you.
Of the 9?
Of the 9. Yeah.
Need one? She needs a pen.
Thank you.
You all set, Lon? Took your pen, you all set?
I'm all set. I did it quick.
Does anyone want to share one of the items that they feel that are challenging for them? Mary?
All right, number 3. Thank you. How might good people have dramatically opposing views on moral issues?
Okay. Anyone else want to share?
5, might there be people or ideas with whom I should not engage?
Okay.
Number 2,
2?
what distinguishes constructive disagreement from destructive disagreement?
Anybody else?
Number
Take
8.
number 6.
Number 6, Larry?
How do I determine when to stand by my truths and when to compromise?
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Alright, number 5, might there be people or ideas with whom I should not engage?
Number 8.
Number 8. Practical tools can help you consider an issue from multiple perspectives. Engage with those who might disagree. Now, if you think about it, we all have challenges like this. Okay? If we're going to be able to have Machloket L'Shem Shamayim, then what we need to do is come up with ways to do it. Some of this may not be new to people, but the fact that we're doing it from a Jewish perspective does is really the main issue. So, I am sure everyone here has heard the issue of 3 Jews, 4 opinions.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, there were 5 synagogues within walking distance from my house when I was in elementary school, and my grandfather would only go to one of them. I would go to 2, one when my cousins went, one my grandfather went. The other 3 I didn't go to, because I have no idea why. And everyone who went to these different synagogues would not go to the other synagogue. One was a Litvak synagogue, one was a Galicianum, one was a Hungarian. I mean, there's all kind of crazy reasons. But it is true. There are different Jews have different opinions. Is that normal?
For Jews, it is.
Yes.
What you should know is that is divinely written. It was as if it came down from heaven. So we're going to look at a midrash. The midrash is on the 2nd page. This is a midrash for the book of Psalms. A midrash is an interpretation. The midrashim were one of the first interpretations written from Torah. Some of them are legends. Some of them, kind of like neat little stories. This is a very interesting one.
Can I interrupt? It isn't only Jews.
Yeah, but we're only talking. I'm going to just deal with Jews
I
right
mean,
now.
where I lived, there was like the Italian church and the French church.
Oh yeah.
And never the twain shall meet.
So, this midrash says the following. Rabbi Yanai says, the Torah was not given in a clear-cut manner. Rather, on every statement God said to Moses, he would say 49 reasons, or 40 panim, the word faces we're using. The matter that for 49 reasons, a matter could be pure, and 49 reasons why the matter could be impure. So the example I would use is that there are 49 reasons for something to be said to be kosher, and there are 49 reasons that something is not kosher. Moses says to God, Master of the universe, when will we know the truth? God said to Moses, go according to the majority. According to the book of Exodus, if the majority rule is it is impure, it is impure. If the majority rules it is pure, it is pure. The rabbi always talks about, find a rabbi that'll give you the answer you want, which is not unusual because a lot of them you can. I mean, different rabbis have different interpretations. Moses himself was only given 49 reasons. Look at the next midrash, next teaching from the Talmud in the Darim, which talks about oaths. Rav and Samuel both said, 50 gates of understanding were created in the world, and all but one were given to Moses. For it is said, for you have made him, Moses, a little lower than God. So what our rabbis are teaching us was that Moses was not given all the entire Torah. There's like 49 spots. He knew 49 out of 50. If Moses only knew 49 out of 50, that means in a discussion with Moses, he couldn't tell you the final answer. You have to have a discussion about it. So the question is, does every 49, and one of the issues with 49, one of the issues we do, one of the issues that we deal with in Machloket Matters is specific phrases. 49 is one of them. Does every 49 deserve to be heard? If you're having a discussion with someone, do you have to give every one of your opinions? Do you have to listen to every one of the opinions? Does everything have to be heard? And if not, then what shouldn't be heard? What is not to be heard?
Curse words?
Well, we got that. So curse words, yeah, I can see that. You may not want to do that, but if I'm giving you a reason of why I should be doing X, Y, and Z, and you're telling me why I shouldn't, do we have to have a whole discussion? Or, at what point do you not do it? Look at some of the questions on the bottom. How do you determine which decisions can be left up to the majority, and which decisions require one to activate their authority in the final decisive voice? If you're comfortable sharing, is this a tension you have to navigate in your life or leadership? When have you ever been part of a group where you were the majority or the minority? How did it feel? Now that's not rhetorical.
I think,
Yeah, go ahead.
so I think one of the, take my professional life, for example. I work in a male-dominated field, and so when there's non-male voices in the room, I try to make sure they get heard, because when you go with the majority or who speaks the loudest, sometimes maybe you don't have to hear all 49 opinions from one voice, but if there's 49 voices that have an opinion, perhaps you need to consider that, because you could have, like, take Korach, for example. You know, if everybody listened to him, how would it have gone differently?
That's true, but did Korach have a valid point?
49 answers to that
There
one,
are.
right?
That's right. Hold the Korach thing in your mind for 1 second. We'll get back to it in 1 second.
Arnie,
Yes.
part of me really wants to hear all 49. It seems fair, it seems just, and yet I'm sure that on many, many topics, there are opinions that the majority would find abhorrent and that probably you don't want to discuss, but I know somebody's going to champion them. It's hard not to hear some opinions sometimes.
Okay. You're very right. It is hard not to hear some opinions. Sometimes it's hard to hear the opinions. Mary?
I remember, sorry, years ago, shared decision-making started, and we did, I was a teacher. And actually, I kind of liked it, because people would give their opinion on whatever the topic was. People had to listen to that opinion. It had to be verified. It was whole systematic, you know. It had to be like, okay, that's a valid opinion, that's your opinion, so on and so forth. And then we would go with majority rule anyways. But it was a nice way for everybody to share how they felt about something, even though maybe how you felt wasn't the ultimate decision. At least you were given the respect of being heard.
Okay. That's valid. I think, you know, when you think about what's important, what's not important, sometimes we forget that what may be important to you or to me may not be important to someone else. And what may be important to them may not be important to me, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't acknowledge it in some fashion, even if it's diametrically opposed to what we believe. And that's the hard part, especially in today's climate. That's the hard part. So, before we go on, let's identify what is Machlokes L'Shem Shemayim and Machlokes Lo L'Shem Shemayim, a disagreement for the sake of heaven, and a disagreement for not for the sake of heaven. If you go to page 3, it's in Pirkei Avot, it says, any disagreement, Machloket, that is for the sake of heaven, L'Shem Shemayim, will continue to exist, and one that is not for the sake of heaven will not continue to exist. What is a disagreement that is for the sake of heaven? This is the disagreement between Hillel and Shammai. One that is not for the sake of heaven, this is the disagreement of Korach and his group. So actually that's where the Korach part comes in. Hillel and Shammai, according to our legends, were the first two interpreters, rabbinical interpreters, Zukot, we call them in the Mishnah, and Hillel represented kind of like the middle class of the population. Shammai, in many respects, represented the upper class, or the upper middle class and the upper class. So some of their rulings were kind of, you know, with their individual rulings, sometimes were based on money, and someone would say you couldn't afford it, you can't afford it, you have to do it. For example, oil was a very expensive item during the 1st and 2nd century. Think of the Hanukkah story. According to what we know, Hanukkah was actually the holiday of Sukkot that was celebrated for 8 days, or 7 or 8 days. And on the first day of Hanukkah, about 150 animals were sacrificed. On the second day of Hanukkah, about 140 were sacrificed. On the third day, 120 were sacrificed, and so on and so forth. They got to the 8th day. So they had a lot of animals the first day, fewer animals the second day. So once we started celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah, Shammai says, what you should do is on the first day, you should light 9 candles, or 9 candles, which you should be writing, 8, the Shabbos, and 8 candles. And on the second day, 7. In other words, you go down, because we have a lot of animals, and then we have fewer animals. Hillel says when you go from holy, from something holy to something else holy, you always go from small up. You always go up in holiness. 1 candle on the first day, 2 on the second day. Who's right?
They're both
Who's right? What's that?
They're both right.
They're both right. So if Parker this year wants to celebrate kind of like 9 candles on the first night, is he wrong? No, he's not. If I want to light 1 candle on the first night, which is what we teach kids, is it wrong? The answer is no. The reason we go with Hillel is because Hillel was basically did it in such a way that it was affordable in some sense, which is how the rules eventually became the rules. But Hillel and Shammai didn't fight about it. According to the legends, they ate at each other's house, their kids married each other, their students got along. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful concept that regardless of their disagreements, they continued to get along. Korach, on the other hand, came to Moses and said, "Who died made you God," essentially. And had this whole discussion, brought in a bunch of people to argue against Moses. He would not compromise in any fashion, and the earth opened up and swallowed him. That's why disagreements, they're not for the sake of heaven, don't last forever. Now, will the earth open up and swallow some people? Please don't answer that because it hasn't happened yet, and I doubt it will. We all may have ideas of who it should happen to. But it doesn't happen. It's not the reality.
And want to take a chance.
That could be true. But the issue is that the way Korach did the argument, he may have gone to Moses in a different way. Says, "Listen, I just want to talk to you about something that I'm thinking of. Maybe we can redo something. I don't know. Compromise in some way. Maybe Moses would have had. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But we'll never know because he just basically the whole thing just went. But it didn't work. So that's the type of disagreement we have. If it's a disagreement that's valid, you're going to have, of course, the opportunity to continue it, possibly, maybe compromise, possibly walk away happy. Has anyone here ever gotten so angry, that you just kind of get into the discussion and you're just ready to rip the guy's throat off and you? I mean, you just want to.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Oh.
There's a gentleman named Jonathan Haidt in a book called The Author is Righteous Mind By Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, came out just a few years ago. And for those of you that teach, he also wrote a book called The Anxious Generation, which is why teens are kind of messed up this year in this generation. It's a whole separate book. And he divided it up. He divided the argument into this. When you have a visceral reaction, and you're just yelling at the person, or do you use Ellen's words, you're cursing at the person, you're getting really angry. That's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. That's your elephant talking. That's what that is. That's your elephant. But you're the rider. You're the one in charge. How do you pull in your elephant? How do you stop your elephant from taking over? Well, we're going to talk about different ways to do that. How do you do that? How does that happen? So, if you look on the bottom of page 3, we have 4 pillars of Machloket L'Shem Shamayim that come out of the arguments of Hillel and Shammai. And it says, first, debate the issues without attacking people and harming relationships. How many of you would be able to listen to choose your favorite person choose your favorite topic that you don't like, and have a discussion with them without attacking them and preserving the relationship? I'm not claiming this to be easy, believe me.
That's hard.
It's incredibly hard.
Very hard to do. Because I just say, I'm not going to talk to you, and I'm done.
Well, check, one of the other pillars is check your motivation. Are you trying to win, or are you trying to understand?
I'm thinking.
If you're trying to understand, you're not trying to win, you're not trying to win them over. I'm not trying to say you're wrong, I'm right. In other words, winning may not be the ultimate goal. That's not the goal. Maybe understanding. Or are you trying to win or to solve a problem? What's your motivation? Because if your motivation is trying to win, it's not going to happen. You'll destroy the relationship. And once we destroy the relationship, we end up, in many cases, where we are today. The third pillar, yeah.
Just wanted to say, there are some topics that if you have any sensitivity, you don't get into, such as attacking someone else's child. You just probably would not do that, because you know that they're very sensitive. Most people are very sensitive about having their child
There is
criticized.
there is an interesting discussion in the Gemara about what do you say to an ugly bride?
She's beautiful.
Oh,
Exactly.
Everybody's beautiful.
I was just gonna say, there's no ugly
Exactly.
brides.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, every bride is beautiful regardless. And that's, so you're very right, you don't attack, and you don't attack another person. You know, what do you say to an ugly child? You know, to a parent of an ugly child? It's a beautiful children.
Nice personality.
I was very impressed by a very senior, very nice pediatrician who said, what do you say when a mommy presents you with an obviously ugly baby? I said, now there's a baby. And that's it.
The third pillar,
Just stay out.
listen to the other side and be open to admitting that you might be wrong. Maybe some of our own conclusions may be wrong. But you won't know unless you listen to someone else. And fourth, consider that you both might be right despite holding opposite positions.
Depends on the topic.
Of course it depends on the topic.
I don't wanna get into it.
That's a very good thought.
But if you say it depends on the topic, then you can't consider that you both might be right from different points of view.
Then is it possible? Is it possible that you don't do the argument? In other words, so if you look at these 4 pillars, which would be the easiest for you and which is the hardest? Which is the easiest for you to rein in your elephant? Which is the hardest for you not to do that? I'm not looking to share, because you all know which one's hard or easy for you. And because everyone has a different type of way of looking at it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at why we do this to begin with. I'm actually getting to look at all of this. So I'm just going to pass out another packet. And by the way, don't feel embarrassed. I mean, if you need to get more food, if you need to get dessert, you need to get the cake before it gets all eaten.
Please take seconds and thirds and as much as you'd like.
Because what you don't eat is going to be served right fast. I mean, it's really-
You did a nice job, Jim.
Come back on Wednesday for more.
That's right.
It's the same thing, or about
Similar.
No, it's been very different.
Maybe more Gershons than Fresh Up on Wednesday. But similar menu.
More Gershons and that.
Yes, and there's warm cocoa if anyone would like it. Cocoa. It's usually dessert, but
I think it's
I see it, and it's decaf coffee if anybody's.
Oh.
Thank you.
Let me refill my water.
You want regular? Oh. We have them in the front. You want Coke? Oh, cocoa. Yes.
The elephants are interesting because when the Maccabees were
On the first page of this, you'll see some questions on the top. Why is Maklokal L'Shem Shemayim so hard to achieve? How can I identify the underlying values or needs that matter most to me, and what matters most to someone else in a given situation? How might good people have diametrically opposing views on moral issues? That was one of the ones from the beginning. So you see the elephant and the rider. Go to the second page. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist. And many of the books that he wrote are brilliant. If you've never read any of his books, please do so. He has an thing about stimulus and response. Between stimulus and response, there is a place. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So if you're in the driver's seat of your elephant, there are 4 things you can think of. Notice the clues your body sends you when your elephant starts getting agitated. I mean, what are you feeling? Angry? You feeling, you're starting to shake. You're getting upset. You don't want to hear it anymore. choose to pause. Alan said very well. Take a deep breath, count to 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever you need. Decide whether you want to engage in the conversation or not. You have the choice not to engage. And you can look at someone that you totally disagree with and just simply say, you know what, let's keep us going, but we won't talk about the topic, which is okay. Can someone who's diametrically opposed to what you believe, can you sit and talk to them? You may or may not, that's something you have to choose, but you choose. We get to choose. We get to choose whether we not want to talk about it or not. On every single situation. Every single situation. Let's learn a little Gemara on page 3. Now, one of the things that you need to understand is the rabbis of the Talmud do not always get along. Just, you know, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, or whatever. Sometimes they just didn't get along. So in this one, in Moed Kantan, it says the following. Once again, on another occasion, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi decreed that students not be taught in the marketplace. What verse did he expound to serve the basis of this decree? And you got to remember that the one thing that happens in the Talmud is you have to, if you're going to make a ruling, it has to be based on something that's from Tanakh, from scriptures. So he based it on a verse from the Song of Songs. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of your hands of an artist. Just as a thigh is hidden, so too the words of Torah. Thigh is hidden, so the words of Torah should also be hidden. Rabbi Chia went out and taught his two nephews, Rav and Rabba Bar Chana, in the marketplace. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi heard what he had done and became angry. Rabbi Chia came at some later date to visit him. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi mocked him and said to him, by the way, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is the person that we attribute to actually having the Mishnah written down. So it's no longer having to be memorized in the year 200. Rabbi Yehuda mockingly said to him, Chia, who is calling you outside? Rabbi Chia understood that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi had taken the matter to heart and was insulted. So he conducted himself as if he had been admonished for 30 days. On the 30th day, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi sent him a message saying, come. He later sent him another message telling him not to come. In the end, Rabbi Chia came on that same day. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi asked Rabbi Chia, what is the reason that you, the master, acted as you did? Rabbi Chia said to him, as it is written, wisdom cries aloud in the streets. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said to him, if you read this verse once, you certainly did not read it a second time in greater depth. And if you read it a second time, you certainly did not read it a third time. And if you read it a third time, then it was not adequately explained to you, as it is clear that you do not understand it properly. The words, wisdom cries aloud in the streets, should be understood in the accordance with the opinion of Rabbah. And Rabbah said, with regard to everyone who occupies himself with Torah, study inside the privacy of his home, his Torah knowledge will proclaim his greatness outside. What did Rabbi Chia do with this verse? Your rounded thighs are like jewels. He interprets it as not as a reference to Torah, referring to acts of charity and loving kindness. So, let me ask you a question. Can I teach Torah in a shopping center?
In a what?
In a shopping center.
In a shopping center.
Sure.
Okay. You sure?
You can read Torah in the marketplace.
What's that?
They used to read Torah in the
I
marketplace.
used to be Torah in the marketplace, that's true.
Well, isn't that part of, like, when you say the Shema, like, on, like, anywhere you go, on your travels, to and fro, like, you're speaking words of
So
Torah?
you would argue that it's okay to teach Torah in the marketplace.
I mean, yeah, they did it teaching kids how to shoot bows and arrows, because that's the only way they could do it, too. So, like, yeah.
So I would say the argument is, what do you mean about teach? Do you recite and just try and get people in and talk to them, and understand the lesson, or just, be like that person at the marketplace on the corner? Are they really going to understand it?
Which one can't I do in the marketplace?
You can do both of them, but are people really going to understand it if they're just walking through?
So if people are just kind of like hanging out in the marketplace and I'm trying to teach Torah, they're not going to understand it as if we're in a room like this.
No, it depends on where you are. Are they just walking around? Are you in the supermarket, in the market, and people are just going
I'm
about
in
their
a bar
business while
on,
you're trying
on,
to teach?
on
Or
a Saturday afternoon. We used to do Torah on tap. Come to, you know,
I mean, we should
we're going to do it again.
that's
Used to go into a, you know, like a place, drink coffee, wine, whatever, and teach. Is that okay?
I think you're talking about a defined, cooperative, willing class versus trying to teach to a random collection of people that are passing through.
yeah.
I mean,
No, I don't think it matters.
when's it not
Oh,
profitable?
wait a minute, you don't think it matters?
Yeah, I don't think it matters if you're doing an organized class versus you may just be sitting with a Torah and reading. I don't think that would be the issue. For
Yes,
me,
Ellen?
anyway.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it depends if it's a friendly, president or a friendly king. I mean, certainly in Roman times, you probably would get yourself killed if you taught Torah out in the open.
Okay.
I
So
would
it
be
depends on
afraid.
where you are at that time.
Sorry. I would be afraid that if people were just passing through and not able to get a significant portion of the discussion, they might walk away with the wrong understandings.
Could be. Let me show you a quick film. Please ignore the end of this is the commercial for Pardes. Kind of ignore that part of it. But let me show you a quick little film here.
Rabbi issues a decree that the students should not be taught Torah in the open marketplace, in the shuk. Shelo yishnu latalmidim bashuk. There's something about the shuk that raises Rabbi's concern. Perhaps he wants to protect and keep the Torah, an intense, deep learning experience, confined to the study hall walls. Rabbi derived this decree from Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, which hints that the Torah should be an intimate experience, an act of love that is totally inappropriate for the shuk. Divrei Torah beseter. Soon after that, Rabbi Chia, a colleague but subordinate of Rabbi's, teaches Torah in the marketplace anyway. Shana l'shnei bnei chav bashuk. And he defies this decree. Rabbi was quite angry over Rabbi Chia's defiance. Shama Rabbi Ikpad.
I understand why Rabbi is angry. He's just trying to keep the Torah precious, sacred, and...
He is just trying to keep the Torah accessible and let it shine, bring it to the people.
Yeah, I just don't see it that way.
So when Rabbi Chia appears before Rabbi, Rabbi lays it on him. Mi koreh lecha b'chutz? Who or what is calling you out? Rabbi Chia saw that Rabbi really had taken this to heart. Nakat milta b'da'atei. So he banishes himself from the study hall.
What's this really about?
What Rabbi is saying is that if we release traditional wisdom from the safety and control of the Beit Midrash, how might it change and who might change it?
Yeah, but if Torah isn't going to impact the larger community, then what's the point?
When Rabbi Chia finally returns, Rabbi asks him, "Why did you defy me?" Rabbi Chia justifies his view from Mishlei, from Proverbs. Wisdom declares itself loudly in the streets. Chochmot b'chutz ta'ona. But Rabbi explains this verse completely differently. Great spiritual ideas are developed and nurtured inside. Torato machrezet alav mibachutz. It does eventually impact the outside. It is expressed out in the streets, but it's not developed in the streets.
Both Rabbi and Chia seem resolute in their worldview at the end. And they both seem right.
Maybe, but the Talmud has preserved the debate, so it can be continued.
So for those of you that are not familiar, these two people were in Jerusalem. This was, and so you can get an idea of why I wanted to go. That's exactly what I was hoping to do, what they were doing. And I look at that and I go, oh, that's what they say. What was the conclusion?
The conclusion is there is no conclusion.
Exactly, there is no conclusion. It's okay for them to disagree. You know, does Torah come alive, you know, from when we teach, after we're done, are we gonna take this knowledge and tell other people about it? Possibly. Is it okay to talk about this outside of here? Possibly. But that's just the point. It's just a machloket l'shem shamayim. It's a dispute for the sake of heaven. It doesn't necessarily need a resolution. So thinking of that, I'd like you to do is I want you to go to page 4. You'll see that there's some values that were in tension here, that are in tension. These values of, you know, Yehuda Hanasi believed that the Torah had to be kept within the wall. And Rav Chia is saying, no, we should go outside the walls. With someone sitting next to you or around you, with those things, what is the primary value of Yehuda Hanasi? What is his fear? What was the value of Rav Chia? What is his fear? Fill in those blanks. And if you're working with a partner, just fill it in with, you know, with
We're working.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, you can discuss it, or
I have a hand.
we can like 5 minutes or so and do that.
So Hanasi doesn't want this to study markets.
What about the fact that the Torah is always evolving?
Hanasi wants to protect the sanctity.
What about that?
He may think it's okay now.
No.
His grandchildren may go.
I thought
You know, honestly, what about
everybody
that?
had to learn the letters.
I hope you're not waiting for me to answer that question.
You're gonna make me think.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it's
I guess his fear, Hanasi's fear would be
Yes.
degradation or loss of meaning.
And misunderstanding.
Potency.
Our prayer books guide us. We have suggested meditation, private prayer. It's not.
Yeah, and that's where it's kind of like
Chaotic.
It's not like Israelites do. Like you go down through like DC or anything.
Yeah, I never read through
Yeah,
this.
yeah. You know, once
not our way.
once talking about Torah, not hostile to the audience, or is it the person sharing the message and how you share it?
I mean, doing it in the street is meant as an accessibility thing,
I think that was part of it.
but without the guidance of educated interpretation,
Right, yeah.
we risk losing its value.
There's a marker over here screaming, pomegranates are on sale over here. It's red. Are you studying Torah? Or are you just...
Yeah, it's your set and setting or impacting how you process. Whole point of covering your eyes when you see
But then you argue like
If you're uncertain of that,
Right, instead of showing us how to use them, it shows us how to parallelize the same.
Oh, absolutely.
memorizing, so really studying.
I would argue, my argument here is in terms of studies in marketplaces, accessibility. Because what if somebody wants to study Torah, but doesn't have
It's gatekeeping, right. Like the birth of the Hasidic movement versus
no, we don't proselytize, and we're, our focus is now
And they will send you
But I'm not sure that does
In the interest of time, I'm going to interrupt your discussions and just ask you a very simple question, which is down here. Why do these rabbis find the other's position threatening? Because that really was what was going on at the time. Yudah Nasi really felt that what Rabbi Chia was doing was threatening Jewish people, possible Jewish people. Rabbi Chia felt that Yudah Nasi was not allowing others to study Torah. Why? Why would,
Well, there was a real conflict of values because they each had values that they were very attached to, that they thought were primary, that were being threatened.
Yes, exactly.
It's rough authority. If Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was not being listened to, he felt he was losing his authority.
Okay.
And he was being diminished
Okay.
himself, personally.
It's getting the number of students to the different schools if they're supported by the students.
Marissa?
I think just because they don't care so much about the integrity of Torah and perpetuating it, but they had different ideas. So they had different ideas how to do that.
Okay.
I think Rabbi Hanasi had been afraid that we'd lose the holiness of the, I was gonna say the sacredness of the Torah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I said the Torah
To me,
would be
that's what
defined.
was the basis.
Good.
So there's the concept of never let, never let the perfect get in the way of the good. So one of them was a purist, right? And
I could argue that, yes.
okay, and the other was more oriented towards 100% not 100% literacy, but greater literacy, right?
Okay.
And ultimately, these two things it's not solvable between these two. One is a purist, and the other is somebody's interested in democracy, where something, resources available to everybody. So, and purists don't tend to be very flexible.
I think change is a common thread in both their stances. One afraid of any change, and the other one a big supporter, promoter of change. Not whether it's good or bad necessarily, but we're right. This is post-Temple Judaism. This is Rabbinic Judaism at this point. So it's already had a huge shift of, oh my goodness, what was never will be again, and now we have this new thing that already exists because of an unintended change. And as the diaspora grows, as people move, even staying in the land, it's changed from what it was. And I think anytime you have change, good, bad, or indifferent, you have that conflicting thing that also goes with the side of, and I forget the phrase for it, but the part of just someone being able to look at a situation and have a judgment of, oh my goodness, this is controversial. Like someone saying you put vegan cheese on meat. It's vegan cheese, it's parv, but they may not know that, right? So if they see you teaching or talking Torah in a shuk, is that proselytization? Are you cheapening the value of what Torah is? But they're not necessarily seeing, hey, I'm connecting with other people and teaching Torah and being a light like we're commanded to be.
Nice. Basically, we have these two major values in God's word. And so what happens when you have two major values? We'll go to the next page. There's a theory called moral foundations. Okay? These moral foundations, one argument is that they're supposed to be innate, but I don't think they really are. And these 6 moral foundations are care and harm. This foundation is related to our long evolution as mammals with attachment systems and an ability to feel and dislike the pain of others. It underlies the virtue of kindness, gentleness, and nurturance. Fairness and cheating. This foundation is related to the evolutionary process of reciprocal altruism. It generates the ideas of justice, rights, and autonomy. Loyalty, betrayal. This foundation is related to our long history as tribal creatures able to form shifting coalitions. Underlies virtues of patriotism, of self-sacrifice for the group. It is active anytime people feel that it's one for all and all for one. Authority, subversion. This foundation was shaped by our long private history of hierarchical social interactions. It underlies virtues of leadership and followership, including deference and to legitimate authority and respect for traditions. Sanctity, degradation. This foundation was shaped by the psychology of disgust and contamination. It underlies religious notions of striving to live in an elevated, less carnal, more noble way. It underlies the widespread idea that the body is a temple, which can be desecrated by immoral activities and contaminants, an idea not unique to religious traditions. Liberty, oppression. This foundation is about feelings of reactance and resentment people feel toward those who dominate them and restrict their liberty. Its institutions are often in tension with those of the authority of the authority foundation. The hatred of bullies and dominators motivates people to come together in solidarity to oppose or take down the oppressor. These moral foundations, according to this theory, essentially lead all of us. We each have these in some fashion. We each participate in them in some fashion. This part is rhetorical. Which ones do you prioritize? Which are important to you? Without even thinking about it, which ones are important to you that you automatically do? If you go to the next page, there's a thing called ARIA. ARIA is an approach for conflict resolution. There are many approaches to conflict resolution, folks. This is not the only one. This was done by Professor Jay Rothman. You can pick up, read his books on it. The ARIA it's kind of like ARIA. So the A is antagonism. Let it all out, note your issues. After focusing on your perspective, put yourself in the other party's position. The second part is renaissance. Now step back and reflect upon those issues. The third is invention. Be creative. And be creative and note as many ideas as possible. How to improve the situation. Fourth is action. Think of specific steps you could take. Now once again, put yourself in the other party's position. Explore how they might respond to your actions. And so, as another quick assignment for about 3 to 4 minutes, and I know that's not enough to do this, choose a conflict that you had, either personal or professional. It would be nice if you could choose a conflict that you're comfortable talking about. That's not required. And take 3 or 4 minutes and fill out this little form based on that conflict. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you. Coming from you guys.
Is that when you have no problem talking? Were you thinking of that? No.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting thing to do during your meeting. I like that.
Then she still kept arguing.
No, I said it a second time.
Yeah, I know, after you said ugly, she said, yeah, but.
No, she's like, yes.
So eventually she's just sitting on these things with just on Monday leaving. It's like, this needs to go to professional channels now.
I think we adapt. Most of the time we adapt. And we're trying to become more flexible with it.
Hey, Larry, have you finally caught on?
You can't run, you can't fight, you actually could. Simple as that.
If you're done, or if you're willing to share, talk to the person next to you about your conflict.
Do I have this educator I work with?
I was just gonna say the same thing.
You know, there
All right, you wanna hear mine?
happened at work this week.
My husband likes the house. It's colder than I do.
I mentioned something to
Season, right?
Yep.
Right, he likes a
and
cold
then they
house.
went
I like
to
a
somebody
pleasant
else
house,
to
right?
ask
Or, I
about
mean,
things
it's
that I
like cold,
just
plus
informed
it's
them
an
about.
energy mixer.
And every
It's
time
energy,
he's coming
right?
in drinking
He likes a colder house, he doesn't really care about anything to do with that. He doesn't care, he wants to be colder. I'm married to this Right, right, yes, exactly, yeah.
Or not.
But
Your perception.
Right. So I put on a sweatshirt. That's why it's or like that's
it's a recurring thing where
see, a lot of this, a lot of it.
I mean, I've had other.
This is like this is like the places of work, schools, everybody agrees that but I think too, it's not that important. You know what I mean? It's like, I like to argue about it. A while it's like, is it really at the end of the day? I literally about that. But then I like Nancy treated, that
Well,
earth shattering. Do you have any
Literally can't exactly create stigma and
Like, we're coming back in an hour, like, leave the air conditioner.
and that's a real thing. Sometimes when I say, hey, don't use the word narcissist, it sounds like I'm telling them they're totally and people don't want to.
He writes it in my grade school. We have for him, but else it's not in there. But
Yeah, I'm not.
And why?
I've given her some time.
and at night I say this way downstairs. I send that up at night.
By pulling that room, air goes up into the
This
attic.
other argument is when he's like,
But it sounds like
On the way to major surgery.
it's like the perverse.
Gave her a breakdown. What do we do? On the way to the hospital, you've got what you want.
Oh, I don't
This literally does fundamental rights. So there has to be
So you gotta know the guy who's got it. Every year, it's gotta come and, replace the broken shingle. For 7 years we had the house, it was okay, right now, we've got the new roof, we're never gonna have to do that.
Trying to get an idea of the big picture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I am going to stop. Interesting. I mean, the discussion I was having with Joanne is to the point. Maybe there is no, maybe there's no solution, but maybe in terms of what you're going through, maybe there are two sides that are right. Maybe and just pick your topic. But it was, doesn't even matter what it is. It's very, it's very possible if we try to understand each other. That could be part, that could be the issue. I mean, I don't agree a lot with some of the things going on, but I'm not going to, and I am bringing politics. I'm not going to shoot someone because, there are ways to debate. If you go to the last page, and by the way, this is not easy stuff. And this is only this much of this course. You're going to have to take the rest of my course, and I'm starting in October to hear the rest of it. There is a disagreement protocol that Machlokes L'Shem Shamayim has created. And I will tell you that the person who created this is Sevi Kraut, who taught us, facilitated this course, and she was an amazing instructor. Internal work, checking for readiness and becoming ready to engage in conversation. Elephant versus rider. Who's in control? Is your rider in control, or is the elephant in control? Remember, elephants can stomp on people. Is that what you want? Returning to the driver's seat. What is your body telling you at that moment? What is your body telling you at that moment? Choose to pause. Take a deep breath and decide what to do next. Am I ready to engage in Machlokes L'Shem Shamayim? Remember, we have these 4 pillars. Debate the issue without attacking people. Check your motivation. Are you trying to win or understand? You're trying to win or solve a problem. Listen to the other side and be open to admitting that you might be wrong. Or consider that you both might be right. That's tough, because if you're both right, that means not necessarily that you're accepting the other person's opinion, but it's right for them. It may not be right for me, but it's right for them. And that's important. Have I touched base with my why? That's the Arya tool on the moral foundation theory. Why am I discussing this? Why is this important to me? All of these things need to be talked about. So when you're ready to apologize to someone, okay, what did you do wrong? If you're ready to,
No, he
Not
said,
me.
what he said
Me.
was, he said, well, how do we learn this from to say sorry? And then you said, well, when you're ready to apologize, I went, see?
when you're ready to apologize to someone, are you saying you're sorry because you've done something that they are very upset about? Because you took their toy away? Because you called them a name? Because you slapped them? Because you totally disagreed with them? Or if they apologize to you, are you willing to accept the apology, even if you diametrically disagree with them? According to the Machzor, according to all the sources on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, you are required to accept the apology. Someone comes to you, you are required to accept it. If you want to apologize to someone and they don't accept it, you're required to go to them 3 times. If after 3 times they don't accept it, you're done. That may be a machloket that you just is not going to have a solvable problem. But that's okay, as long as we don't destroy the relationships between each other. That's the most important part. What are you going to do with that other person? You're going to have to deal with them, you're going to have to work with them, you're going to have to see them in the grocery store, in the marketplace, in the synagogue, wherever it happens to be. Folks, we have a lot of stuff that we can argue about. And you and I have argued many topics throughout the years. Don't agree. But the one thing that I believe is it doesn't mean we have to destroy the relationships. That's the most important part. And so I wish you all a Shana Tova, a sweet and happy New Year. You're welcome to keep these sheets. If you don't want to, you can give them back. I do want the pens back though, because Josh is picking on inventory.
35 cents.
That's right.
Can you guys maybe remark when we apologize, what is it we're apologizing for?
Okay? What are you apologizing? What are you apologizing for?
That's, okay, so.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Apologizing for whatever they do.
We're gonna be in the sanctuary where services start in about a half hour, eat a little bit more.
Yes, please eat a little bit more. There's some wonderful cake, by the way, if you haven't had the dessert. Go grab it. It's delicious.
That was an all day.
Yes, it was.
Is there any recourse when the other person's quite willing to let the relationship further?
Recourse is up to you.